Ulysses S. Grant, in a conversation with the Duke of Cambridge, said, "The one thing I never want to see again is a military parade." And on this Memorial Day, we will again see the uber-patriotic spectacle of uniforms, flags, marching bands, military vehicles, flyovers of F-15s, and all the other reminders that our secular religion is war. We love it. We immerse our culture in it. We inculcate our children into its glory with commercials for the armed forces and first-person shoot-'em-up video games. We grieve for a few moments when taps is played, when the old soldier in the uniforms walk by us trying to look grateful for the honor we bestow upon them, and then we go shopping for Memorial Day specials together for barbecue and some beer. This perversion of Memorial Day is not unexpected by a nation which has been hijacked by the military-industrial complex. From its beginning as Decoration Day, it was envisioned as a solemn occasion, one to honor the dead of the Civil War, and later all those who died during the time of war. The U.S. Code, Title 36, Section 116, Memorial Day. Designation: the last Monday in May is Memorial Day. Proclamation: the President is requested to issue each year a proclamation, 1, calling on the people of the United States to observe Memorial Day by praying according to their individual religious faiths for permanent peace. Designating a period of time on Memorial Day during which people may unite in prayer for permanent peace. Calling on the people of the United States to unite in prayer at that time, and calling on the media to join in observing Memorial Day and this period of prayer. Now notice, I didn't see anything in that proclamation about war, but I did see 2 or 3 mentions of peace. But that isn't what Memorial Day seems to be about most of the time. And just as on Armistice Day, which was stated, where it is fitting that the recurring anniversary of this date should be commemorated with thanksgiving and prayer and exercises designed to perpetuate peace through goodwill and mutual understanding between nations, became Veterans Day by an act of Congress and later proclaimed by Eisenhower on October 18, 1954. And in his proclamation he stated, "And let us reconstitute ourselves to the task of promoting and enduring peace, so that their efforts, those who died, shall not have been in vain." We have disregarded the message and the instructions given us. We do not unite in prayer for a permanent peace. We do not reconsecrate ourselves to the task of promoting and enduring peace. We bang the drum of military might. We never ask why. We are bamboozled by the mighty Wurlitzer that passes for a free press. We've yet to realize that war is the enemy, not some shadowy boogeyman intent on destroying our freedoms. We're quite capable of doing that ourselves. No, we must have our Emmanuel Goldstein, someone or something to keep us in fear. Another general summed that up quite good. The powers in charge keep us in a perpetual state of fear, keeping us in a continuous stampede of patriotic fervor with a cry of grave national emergency. Always there has been some terrible evil to gobble us up if we did not blindly rally behind it by furnishing the exorbitant sums demanded. Yet in retrospect, these disasters never seem to happen, never seem to have been quite real. That was Douglas MacArthur, of all people. And so we again celebrate Memorial Day in all its capitalistic glory, rally around the flag, boys, stand at attention, salute. And today there will be a Memorial Day parade at the Rose Festival. But not just any parade, it will be the Danner Memorial Day March. From the Rose Festival website, starting at 1:30 p.m., the Danner Memorial March parades down Nato Parkway from the Broadway Burnside Bridge south to Salmon Springs Fountain. Come show your support as the Grand Marshals, Oregon National Guard, Patriot Guard riders, bands, and patriotic vehicles march on. Stake out your spot on Nato Parkway to watch the Rose Festival's newest and most patriotic parade. There will also be a Danner tribute wall located in the Rose Festival Center. Please visit the Danner tribute wall during Memorial Day weekend to post pictures and notes to honor all veterans, whether living or fallen. and all service personnel currently serving in our country. I was going to put an expletive in here, and I won't, but me. Memorial Day is for the dead, those who died during war. We commingle the dead and the living as if there is no difference. November 11th is Veterans Day, which is for the living and those who did not die in war. The dead never got to be veterans. I'm a vet, spent a year in Vietnam, seen the elephant, and he wasn't pretty. Many of my closest friends are vets, and most are members of Veterans for Peace. We are bonded through a shared experience. We have held a dying teenager, or watched as the dust-off takes off the wounded and the dying to the aid station, not knowing their fate. On Memorial Day, we gather to reflect on, remember those who died in the wars. We think about a world peace. We think of the lives that caused these names to be on the wall. We ask why. We don't march in any parades. We reconstitute ourselves to the task of promoting an enduring peace so that their efforts shall not have been in vain. My only wish is that our leaders would do the same. Now, another general, in accepting the nomination for President of the United States, I believe it was in 1876, in the letter he said, "I always have respected that will and always shall. Peace and universal prosperity, its consequences with economy of administration will lighten the burden of taxation while it constantly reduces the national debt. Let us have peace." Let us have peace. That's on Grant's tomb. Another general, another president. The other day, I was up on one of my blogs that I read and post on Daily Coast, and came across this short story, and I'd like to read it to you. It'd make a great video, any videographers out there. It's called Memorial Day by Mark Anderson. The grizzled old man arrived at his destination, his back hunched over, using a cane, and with what combat veterans usually describe as the 1,000-yard stare, a gaze that looks right through you, a look that says he has seen the horrors of war and that he cannot forget some 60 years later. A vast sea of white lay before him. It was as if someone had planted the seeds for the garden of stone that was before him, ready for harvest. How many, he asked himself, knowing that there was a finite answer, the true answer was too many. He trudged his way across the field of marble, stopping at each headstone to take a flag out of his backpack and placing the flag in front of each marker. He read every name, calculated every age. He was tempted to say that a few were too young to be there. However, he realized that all the men and women that were here were all too young to be here. Every soul here was cut down in its prime. What a waste, he exclaimed, shaking his head. Silent and respectful of the sacrifices of those just below his feet, he soldiered on. He was determined to complete his mission before nightfall. Across the field, he could hear a lone bugler play taps. The mournful sound echoed across the landscape. The forlorn notes brought back memories of long ago when he was a much younger man. He could still hear their voices, still see their faces if they were standing right next to him. The thoughts of the war came rushing back to him. He remembered each death. He was one of the handful that had survived the entire war. They were so young men, so full of life, ready to take on the world. Few of them had that chance. Many of them were chewed up on foreign soil, never to be seen home again. They gave their lives for a cause they may not have understood or believed in, but they knew that their country needed them, so they answered the call. He could see himself as a young man trying to comprehend the savagery around him, trying to understand why he lived and others died. And as he was reflecting on his past, a young man with close-cropped hair, muscular build and a 1,000-yard stare approached the old man. "Hello, sir. May I help you put those flags out?" "Well, this is kind of a mission I promised myself I would complete for my fallen brothers. It's something I have done every year since 1946. There were a lot fewer stones then." I know the ending. It's something I've done every year since 1946. There's a lot fewer stones then. Every year it seems like more and more stones are here, and every year this mission takes me longer and longer to complete. Sir, I have fallen brothers here as well. It would be an honor to help you. Where and when did you serve, son? I was with Bravo Company, 1st of the 502nd Infantry Battalion, 101st Airborne. I served both in Iraq and Afghanistan. Awful business, is that what wars are? I would be honored to have a fellow Screaming Eagle help me. What's your name, son? Troy Miller, sir. Troy, I'm Mike Sampson. I was with the 101st during World War II. I jumped into Normandy and was with the 101st throughout the war. What's your rank? I was a corporal, sir. Oh, you don't need to call me sir. I never got any more than a private. The two of them soldiered on, placing a flag in front of each headstone. They talked about the different wars and how the wars had changed them. What are your thoughts on war? Asked the old man. My thoughts on war, the young man said. Yeah, what are your thoughts on war? I feel that mankind has great potential, yet that potential gets wasted by men with big egos. Those big egos do nothing more than send young men to die. Those that live like you and me, we don't come home the same. We're broken, yet we try to hide it as best we can. All the while, the great leaders proclaim the young men are heroes. Nothing is learned, nothing is gained, and the next generation of young men is groomed to go to war for men with big egos. There has to be a better way to solve the world's problems. You're right on the money, son. My only wish throughout my life is that we would someday stop asking young men and women into this cemetery, or one day Memorial Days will no longer be necessary. I don't think that dream will ever happen. The young man nodded in agreement as they approached the last headstone. The soil was freshly turned. Another addition to the fallen. I have to get going, said the young man. You sure you don't want to go down to the VFW hall and have a beer with me? I'd love to, but I have to go. All right, it's been a pleasure to meet you. The old man watched as the young man disappeared over the horizon. He then looked down at the marble gravestone. Troy S. Miller, Corporal, U.S. Army, 1990-2010, Operation Enduring Freedom. The old man wept for the first time in 60 years. All he could think was, what a waste. We traditionally play taps at the end of this program. But there's another final song, or final tune that is played, and it's played by our allies, the English, the Anzacs, the Scots. It's called The Last Post.
The only peace sign that you can see from space. We're here at the Peace Park because we like to take our walk from war to peace, and on Memorial Day remember and memorialize not just those who have fallen in uniform, but also all of the innocents that have died because of wars. And unfortunately, with modern warfare the way it is, the ratio is 10 to 1, 30 to 1, 100 to 1. We don't know, because a lot of times the civilian casualties are not reported. So that's what the Peace Park is about. It's not just to honor the soldiers, it's to honor everyone who has died in war. And so we won't have any more of these wars. And it's a great gathering place to have vigils. We've had marriage ceremonies here. And if you'll notice that around the circle are some words, and they're not all in English. And Nancy over here is going to explain all about what these words are.
Hello, thank you. There are two things in chalk today. The first is Casey Sheehan's name, and I've been doing the Iraq Names Project for several years now, and his name fell exactly there. So each Memorial Day, because his 31st birthday was yesterday, so that's Casey Sheehan. The rest of the words are peace, of the people's languages that we've been in conflict with. And I just hope that as a global society, we can actually make this happen. Thank you to the Veterans for Peace for letting me share this space with them, and thanks to you all.
My name is Dan Shea, and with Veterans for Peace, now sit on the national board. This day means very much to me. Yesterday I went to the coast to spread the ashes of my brother, who was a Vietnam veteran, served in the same company platoon as me in Vietnam. It's been a year, July 7th, since his passing. But war has, as Grant said, affected so many people beyond the wars themselves, the immediate deaths and wounds. Because, like in Vietnam, I was also exposed to Agent Orange. And when I came home and had my first child, he was born with congenital heart disease and other abnormalities. And at the age of 3, had to go for surgery in 1981. That went bad, and he went into a coma, and 7 weeks later died in my arms. Today my wife is up at Willamette Memorial, where he's buried in the Willamette Veterans Cemetery up there, as are part of the ashes of my brother there, as is my uncle, my nephew, and so many other people that have been comrades in arms. But we want to be here for comrades in peace. We want to stop these wars, and one of the best preventions against post-traumatic stress, against post-victimization from these wars, is to end war. And today I want to thank all of you for coming out here and to continue supporting Veterans for Peace. I also have some of my brother's ashes that I'm going to spread out here today. Thank you.
You'll be in good company. Up under the rocks up there are some ashes from Sean Slattery, who our chapter is named for. He was a folk singer, balladeer, fierce veteran advocate, and a fierce anti-warrior. He was at Dewey Canyon 3, which was in 1971, where all of the Vietnam veterans camped out and threw their medals over the fence onto the halls of Congress. It was called a peaceful incursion into the peaceful incursion into the country of Congress, or something like that. It was a great day, and hopefully more of us will figure that one out. So I'm going to read a poem to finish off this thing, and I hope when we're done we'll all sit around and commiserate and laugh and cry and think about all those people that aren't here, because somewhere, someplace, somebody has lobbed a shell, dropped a bomb, sprayed an AK-47 or an M16 or an M60 onto some place that it shouldn't have gone. And most of the time, that someplace that shouldn't have gone is everywhere. This was written in 1982 by, of all people, John Denver, one of my favorite singers. It's called The Peace Poem. There's a name for war and killing. There's a name for giving in. When you know another answer, for me, the name is sin. But there's still time to turn around and make all hatred cease and give another name to living, and we could call it peace. And peace would be the road we walk each step of the way, and peace would be the way we work, and peace the way we play. And in all we see that's different, and in all the things we know, peace would be the way we look, and peace the way we grow. There's a name for separation, there's a name for first and last. When it's all of us or nothing, for me, the name is past. But there still is time to turn around and make all hatred cease and give a name to all the future, and we could call it peace. And if peace is what we pray for and peace is what we give, then peace will be the way we are and peace the way we live. Yes, there still is time to turn around and make all hatred cease. Let's give another name to living, and we can call it peace. 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 Work it, play it, live it.